There's something wrong with Spencer Torkelson, and no one is really sure what it is. After sweeping the nation with his collegiate performance, becoming the top selection in the 2020 draft, and overcoming his rookie season struggles with a 30-homer campaign last year, Spencer Torkelson has regressed back to square one. His home run on May 12th was his first of the year, 38 games and 164 plate appearances deep into the season. The disappointment of his offense and the already implied shortcomings of his defense and base running currently have him listed among the 10 least valuable players in the American League. Luckily for him, he's not the worst on his own team. That title is reserved for one special $140 million man.
What?
Give me a hug.
No way.
Come here.
I'm not coming over there.
I do not envy number one overall draft selections. Obviously, playing baseball as a job is a dream life, and most of these go on to wildly successful careers, making millions of dollars, yada yada yada.
Yada, yada, yada. Yada, yada, yada.
Yada, yada, yada. I'm still single.
But being the top selection in the draft comes with an aura and expectation from fans. This is the guy that's going to save our team. If this guy doesn't pan out, we might as well have wasted a year of the franchise. While the Kansas City Royals surge ahead off the back of their newly extended former second overall pick, Detroit must wait for their big puzzle piece to finally fit correctly. With over 300 games played in his career, some Detroit fans are giving up on their once prized first baseman, and it's hard to blame their frustration. But at only age 24, I think there's still a lot of baseball left to be played in Torkelson's career. Torkelson was certainly deserving of the top selection back in 2020. Not only did he lead all college players in home runs in 2019, but he actually broke Barry Bonds' freshman home run record at Arizona State as a first-year player. Yeah, but next time, why don't you try breaking Jose Ramirez's college home run record, because he's better than Barry Bonds, dude. When he went number one overall to Detroit, he signed for $8.4 million, which was the highest signing bonus in MLB draft history at the time. Part of his appeal was the fact that Torkelson was an all-fields hitter, an approach he learned when he first picked up a baseball from his dad, as he said in conversation with Fangraphs writer David Lorila. Torkelson wasn't exactly set up for success early on. Like all minor league players that year, he lost his season in 2020, delaying his pro debut by a full year. In total, Tork played just 121 games, which is about 3/4 of a full season in the minor leagues, before he eventually made the Tigers' opening day lineup in 2022. Naturally, the then 22-year-old struggled mightily while adjusting to big league pitching with not much seasoning beforehand. He hit under 200 and slugged under 300 throughout an awful first half of play before getting demoted back to AAA. In this window of time, Torkelson remarked that even just being able to show up every day with somewhat of a positive mindset would be a win for him, signaling that much of his adversity in this time was mental. It wouldn't be the first time that a prized Detroit prospect got demoted in their rookie year, only to resurface and become the player they always had the potential to be. If you turn the clock nearly 15 years back, we can find Max Scherzer in a Toledo Mud Hens jersey, landing in the minor leagues after his first 8 starts of 2010 were nothing short of a complete disaster. 9 home runs allowed, a 7.29 ERA, and a 9.55 opponent's OPS. We all know how that story wrapped up once he got the call back to the big leagues, and sometimes a key to change is a simple reset at a lower level to get a player back to their basics. As observed by Cody Stavenhagen of The Athletic, Torkelson began distributing his weight in a more balanced fashion throughout his swing, while also standing closer to home plate. But the lasting impacts of this demotion, as regarded by his manager AJ Hinch, seemed to be the mental changes more than the physical changes. 2023 was supposed to be a clean slate for the former prized prospect. While the home runs wouldn't come in bunches for the time being, Torkelson began turning his season around in May by rectifying the issue of plate discipline first. Between April and May, his on-base percentage jumped 100 points, despite him still taking his fair share of swings and misses. As far as many are concerned, there's no magic key to improving plate discipline other than getting reps, and for the 23-year-old Torkelson, it seemed like reps was exactly what he needed. With better plate discipline came better swing selection. Better swing selection resulted in more barrels and higher exit velocities. Though his average and on-base percentage declined in June, his slugging percentage ticked up, resulting in 7 June home runs, easily outnumbering his total from the first 2 months combined. It was in the final 2 months of the year that Torkelson was able to put both sides of the ball together for a strong finish to the season. A big factor in Torkelson getting over the hump was his approach against fastballs. To put it quite simply, his approach was to hunt fastballs and adjust from there. That's a quote literally from his mouth. This new approach did result in an 100-point jump in his batting average against fastballs and slugging against fastballs. Turns out his aforementioned instinct had seemingly improved with more MLB reps, because even though his averages against against sliders, curveballs, and changeups didn't improve greatly, he was still hitting these pitches far harder than he did the prior year when he did manage that contact. From the beginning of August till the end of the year, Torkelson's 16 home runs were third in the American League, trailing only Aaron Judge and Corey Seager, and that number was tops among all MLB first basemen. He was hitting fly balls 10% more than he did the year prior, and this placed him at 31 home runs overall on the season. The first Tigers hitter with a 30-plus home run campaign since Miguel Cabrera and Justin Upton both did so in 2016, which was a 7-year drought. In my opinion, the biggest statistic for Torkelson was the fact that he was tied for 7th in MLB for barrels on the season. I've been talking about barrels a lot this video, so let's break it down really quickly so that we're all on the same page. If you barrel a ball, that means the exit velocity was more than 98 miles per hour, and because of that, it resulted in an expected batting average of 500 or more. Maybe we need to do this in layman's terms. It doesn't really seem like you're getting it. Spencer Torkelson was 7th in MLB for hitting the absolute piss out of the baseball. This placement trailed only last year's MVP winners Ronald Acuna Jr. and Shohei Ohtani, as well as 2022's AL MVP winner Aaron Judge, last year's NL home run leader Matt Olson, as well as Austin Riley and Marcell Ozuna. This was elite company. This is the company that Spencer Torkelson was expected to keep moving forward. His defense and speed remained limited, but when Detroit took him #1 overall, they were selecting a bat that could single-handedly power an offense, a bat that could eventually win an MVP award and be a pillar to the team's future success. This 2-month stretch to close out 2023 was their first glimpse into that reality. Quick interruption on today's video to thank today's sponsor, which is the DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, if you can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,500 with just a minimum deposit of $5. So many fun things to do at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Build your own same-game parlays. Go for a big, huge bet and use that no-sweat bet money when you do. It doesn't matter. Download their app right now. It's free, it's easy to use, and you won't regret it. Thank you to them for sponsoring today's video. The 2023 Tigers finished in second place in the American League Central, which shocked many. From this, Detroit's front office decided to make an offseason push to make a roster competitive enough to take the division altogether. This, coupled with an established young core of Spencer Torkelson, Riley Green, and Tarek Skubal, had many baseball fans buzzing about what the Tigers could accomplish in 2024. Now, we're about 2 months into the season, and the team is hovering around 500, which isn't exactly what I'd consider to be a failure. But outside of the obvious low-hanging fruit that is Javier Baez, I do believe the one key thing holding them back right now is Spencer Torkelson, who has not only regressed to his rookie form, but is arguably producing worse than he ever has before in his brief pro career. We established at the top of the video that he's currently a bottom 10 player in the American League based on FWAR. Obviously, it's his offensive approach taking a direct 180 from his breakout year that has caused his whole game to collapse. The most alarming development between seasons has been Torkelson's complete regression against fastballs, the exact pitch that propelled him to new heights last year. He's currently hitting under 200 with a slugging under 400 against heaters this year after making massive strides last season. Per the recording of this video, he has 19 extra base hits on the season, and just 8 of them are against fastballs. Of those 8 fastball extra base hits, only 2 of them were against a pitch thrown harder than 94 miles per hour. That's not good. If you're watching baseball on a daily basis, most relievers coming out of the pen are throwing harder than 94, and let's be honest, most team starters are throwing harder than that as well. So is it as simple as a struggle against velocity? Well, no, not exactly. He's not really getting beat. Torkelson is striking out a pretty normal amount, around 22% of the time to be exact, which is league average at this point in the year, and actually one of the better marks on his own team. His whiff rate against heaters right now is around 17%, which is exactly what it was last year. So he's still getting his contact, it's just that the contact isn't nearly as productive. This is partly due to a 3-degree increase in launch angle between seasons, which has caused him to produce more pop-ups than deep fly balls. His pop-up percentage of around 14% is 5th worst in all of baseball currently, compared to a 10% clip from last year. If you're a Detroit Tigers fan and you feel like Torkelson just pops out every single at-bat, I promise you're not crazy. It was pretty easy to single out these highlights, and there are plenty of them. Torkelson is not getting the same thump in his swing that he was getting in the final 2 months of the season, though he isn't getting beat, so this is a step in somewhat of the right direction. If we go to his Savant page, pretty much all of his batted ball metrics are down, and down by a lot. The change from year to year has got me feeling patriotic.
Color and white and blue. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Perhaps the most glaring of all is that Torkelson owns the steepest drop-off in barrel rate of any MLB hitter between years. This is partly because he was so efficient at this last year, which means his decline is more severe than maybe the more average power hitters of the game. Now, there is a 412-foot elephant in the room that is the Tigers' home ballpark, Comerica Park. The stadium is notorious for being unforgiving to hitters of all kinds. After greatly favorable numbers on the road compared to home last year, Spencer Torkelson has been a far better hitter at home this season thus far. So it's not really that either. So we know that he's struggling, but it's not for any of the conventional reasons that you might suspect from the get-go. This is a lot of really confusing data, so why don't we put this data into action? This is a recent game between the Tigers and the Diamondbacks from 3 weeks ago. It's a tough task for Detroit's offense because they're going up against Zach Gallen, the ace of the team. In their first matchup, Torkelson worked an 8-pitch at-bat against the ace. His swing decisions were all in the zone, he took some good pitches in the shadow area, and then in a full count, he got buckled by a nasty curveball. Sometimes you get beat. That's gonna happen, whatever. The next at-bat in the fifth is something of an overcorrection by Torkelson in my opinion. Perhaps attempting to work a deep count again, he takes 2 fastballs middle up, 2 pitches he definitely should have swung at. Then he panics in this 0-2 count and chases the curveball thrown for a ball this time. This is likely the pitch he was hunting the entire at-bat because it's what Gallen got him with the last time. The first strikeout tells a much different story than the second, but they are connected. In his third at-bat against Gallen, Torkelson finally gets his bat on the curveball thrown on the first pitch, but he fouls it off. Gallen decides he's not going to see that pitch again. Torkelson takes the high fastball to even the count, then he gets tied up on one closer to the zone, which is a good pitch by Gallen, before he fully chases the last one to complete a 3-strikeout day against a talented pitcher. So why show this particularly rough day for Torkelson? Well, I think what's plaguing Spencer Torkelson right now is not skill issues, but it's once again mental issues. And by the way, I'm not a hitting coach, so take this with the heaviest grain of salt you can find in your cupboard. When he was demoted to the minor leagues in 2022, the biggest change for him were mental changes. When he succeeded at the end of 2023, he had settled into a simple mindset. Hunt the fastball, adjust from there, and get less mechanical in your swing. Now, struggling worse than ever, I believe this first baseman might be caught in a whirlwind of indecision. As you saw in the first at-bat, he's not getting killed by bad swing decisions and chasing out of the zone like many young hitters who struggle tend to. He's actually getting killed by not swinging at strikes enough like you saw in the second at-bat. 45% of pitches he sees are in the strike zone, which is the 10th highest value in all of baseball. Normally, if there's a power hitting first baseman at the plate, the last thing you want to do is throw him a ton of strikes unless you absolutely have to. Pitchers are doing this because they simply know they can kind of get away with it at this point. Among qualified first basemen, Spencer Torkelson chases pitches out of the zone 3rd least of the entire group. But that's because he's just not swinging all that much, and he's not hammering the hittable pitches that he's getting. Why not? Well, this takes us back to something I mentioned at the beginning of the video. The largest glaring issue right now for me is something that Torkelson undid from his earliest days of playing baseball. Did you notice all of his foul balls against Gallen? He pulled them. Do you remember the quotes at the beginning of the video about what his dad taught him to do first in baseball? It was to use all fields. Take a look at this spray chart from 2023 in a great year for Torkelson. It's beautiful, to be honest. Most of his home runs came on the pull side, but he managed plenty of extra base hits going the other way and straightaway as well. Now look at his spray chart from this year. Your eyes do not deceive you. Spencer Torkelson has yet to hit an extra base hit the opposite way or straightaway in 2024, and it's been 2 months. He's pulling the ball more than ever, but I actually think this isn't a good thing. His 50.3 pull percentage is 10th highest in MLB. Now, I think naturally we want our power hitting first baseman to pull the ball and destroy it and hit 40 home runs, but I think there's writing on the wall with Torkelson. He's not going to be as productive if he's constantly trying to pull fly balls for home runs, even if he's doing it with good efficiency. Plus, a lot of the underlying metrics so far this year are still favorable for him. One of the newer Savant stats, bat speed, favors Torkelson very heavily. He's also hitting sliders way better than he ever has before in his career. There are plenty of positive takeaways here. So if Torkelson can find the form that made him so successful late last year, there's no reason why he can't bounce back throughout the rest of the season. He's already seen stark improvement in May compared to April, and remember, the sample that we're constantly referring to from last year as the breakout of Torkelson is the exact same length of the struggles he's had so far this year, 2 months. A lot can change in a full season. Unfortunately for Torkelson, the pressure is not going anywhere. If he doesn't succeed, it's going to be very hard for the Tigers to make the playoffs. We'll see where these next few months take us. But as for Mr. Torkelson, I wish you the best. That'll do it for this video, and I'll see you guys next time.